maturity or emotional balance that we are losing somewhere. So in today's tech-dominated world, this image becomes a striking symbol of a growing emotional challenge. One thing is disconnection in the age of connection. So we seem to be connected.
Maniselvi, just a request. Can you just repeat it once? I just started the recording, so that it's not missed out. So the image part, yeah. Just in short, if you can.
Yeah, so if you look at the image that we see here, maybe we can resonate more with the fourth one rather than the first three. The first three stand for he sees nobody. Basically, they stand for what we have been, that, Bura mat suno, Bura mat dekho, or Bura mat kaho. So, but what we see as the fourth ape has developed, or we have been developing into, is the fourth ape, which is basically he sees nobody, hears nobody, and speaks to nobody. So basically, he's virtually connected. Physical connection has gone to the back, and emotionally he is being disconnected. Thereby, he is being emotionally disconnected. So I want to draw here the attention to why we need to work on emotional agility, why it is time, and there is this necessary skill that we have to develop, so that not only our regular lives that we live, our work, which we tend to give too much of focus into, our relationship, which also has to have a balance in our life, and the other aspect like health, hobbies, and all that contribution toward the society, all that has to be in a balanced manner. So emotional skill, emotion handling skill is very, very important, and that is what we are trying to understand as why in this time and age it becomes more important that we acquire this skill with much more dedication. Disconnection in the age of connection. We are more connected than ever, yet emotionally distant. So we tend to scroll much, but we don't really want to meet people, or we actually during our work schedules we are tend to having more virtual discussions than being physically meeting. We listen to content but don't really hear each other. That is, we keep scrolling on the net, but the face-to-face discussions have reduced. So we react online but don't deeply speak or express. So the reaction that we tend to have is more expression in the form of posts or comments, is more on a virtual front. But when we have to speak to somebody, convey our emotion, express ourselves, that's where we seem to be defaulting. The fourth ape represents this silent emotional shutdown, a generation overwhelmed by input, yet internally numb or distracted. So this is not only our age, we to some extent have seen the not so virtual world earlier before the phones maybe, and some of us would have been just born when the phones had come or the computers were in vogue. Having said that, we'll have to learn to manage all this since we are already into this, and we see that there are certain side effects of us being and living in this time and age. So as I just said, emotions are felt silently, expressed less, and often misunderstood. This is the reality of today. We are taught to manage or distract from emotion, but because we don't have time, we don't have time for anything, and not for our emotions or even to reflect, not face or flow through them. Algorithms know us better than we know ourselves because we don't pause to reflect. This is exactly why emotional agility is essential today. It's not just about handling emotion, it's about staying human in a fast virtual world. So what I feel that increasingly, say in my children's or, in the children that I see, there is a lot of disconnect. They prefer to be with gadgets rather than playing, or even if the playing is there, there's not much of a camaraderie that is being built. It's more superficial, and the depth of relationships are not seem to be building. So we are living in a world where logic is important and emotion is not given so much of importance, so it is sidelined. So logic, when we are trying to think smart, stay rational, or be objective, those seem to be the powerful skill if one has. And emotional fluency, that is ability to feel, express, and process, has taken a backstage. Now, we also see that our families are reducing, so there is a loss of emotional support structure also that we see in societies. Earlier grief had, or rather now grief still have, grief have rituals, but the longevity it is not justifiable, right? Earlier people used to take a longer time, but now people don't seem to have time for, you know, letting go the grief as well. So anger had outlets. We had some time to speak to relations, some friends, and that seemed to have an outlet. Nowadays we don't have time, so we keep running behind our goals. Joy was communal, so there was lot of, other than routine interactions with people, which you know gave us joy and kept us in the right mood. Sadness wasn't rushed away, so we also could give time. This more points towards the life that we are living today is, you know, very time, we have to keep time in mind, in the sense we have to rush into things, so we don't have much time to think, right? We are not having time to even think, so we are not even given time for feeling. So we end up thinking instead of feeling, solving instead of sitting with it, and explaining instead of expressing. So basically we are not giving enough time to what is actually needed, especially our emotions. This intellectual dominance often blocks emotional accessibility. So we always tend to feel that there is what's wrong with me, instead of saying what part of me isn't being felt or heard. So this only we can question, and only we can think of when there is some kind of a pause in our life. Emotion make us human. So machine can solve problem, and it's our emotion, not our logic, that give life color, meaning, and connection. But only a human can feel what it means to be loved, to be heard, to hope again. This somewhere I feel that this feeling, you know, allowing us, each of us, allowing time to feel the feelings that we have is, I think, a miss here. When we neglect our emotion, we don't just lose softness, we lose humanness. Integration is the key. So we can't abandon, you know, logic, and we can't abandon this life that we have. We have to live this part of life. We have to go in this rush, but we have to try to integrate both of this together. We don't need to abandon logic. We need to balance it with emotional wisdom. Emotions give context to logic. Logic gives shape to emotions. Together they form the whole intelligence we need to live fully. So this is more to tell you from the point that why we need this attention, because our entire life, all those things have undergone a change. Now, if you say I have not been affected by all this, I'm not the fourth ape, I still retain to be a normal person, fine. Then these are certain parameters which we can score ourselves on, and then see whether, you know, we are really being affected or not. Whether how our memory is working, what is the sleep quality, anxiety, stress, how much time of the day are we into these emotions, energy levels, whether they are good, how the physical health, emotionally, are we aware of the feelings that are coming and going? What about the focus and attention? How much time are you able to focus into your work? What is the patience level? How much of the time is in the auto mode? Is there a time where you just do nothing, right? And you allow the unconscious to process things, settle things at the back of the mind? How much of the self-criticism is productive, that goes on in back of your mind? How many time we fall into the loop of comparison, and how much time we take to come back out of it? What about the mood swings? Are we getting triggered? Are we feeling on the edge by Friday, or are we, you know, still feeling sluggish on Monday morning? Environment check. How do you feel about your environment that you have built around yourself? And what is the relax meter check? That is whether you are relaxing enough. So if we look at these parameters, I think we will be able to understand that we are somewhere affected and we need to do a lot about it, right? Now, coming to one other important aspect, which what I wanted to discuss today is disconnect between ancient insight and modern application leaves us stuck. So we have inherited lot of knowledge from our ancestors, in the sense there is history, there is lot of literature, there is lot of spiritual books and the texts, religious texts through which we can learn. But somewhere we seem to be just losing the context or the background in which those not that knowledge was given, and we stick to only seeing the end of the solution, or what fits us or what seems to be a convenient solution from the list that is being offered. So somewhere we lose the understanding in the process and we are not giving enough time. Say you look at a reel, and in the reel it is not even 2 minutes and the solution is given, you apply it. But if you really go and see the video, they will have said the pros and cons. They would have said this is the case where this will be applicable. So we tend to ignore that, or we don't have time to do that. We honor tradition but miss its life-giving context. So basically, if you see all our religious practices, these things have been there for a meaning, but we are seem to be just going through that without giving time and space for us to actually engage with that activity and take the opportunity to experience whatever we are being required to experience there. We seek meaning but end up robotic or rigid. So this is because first partially we are looking at things, we are not looking at life experiences for what is happening in our life, because we are not reflecting back on whatever is happening with us. Third thing is that we are going too much into logic and we don't have the sensitivity with the life to create our own answers, right? So what is required is pause. What is required is a bit of a negative capability, and what is required is the way jugaad was done, or the way the word jugaad is formed. Like jugaad, you can say, is something like behavioral flexibility, and it also has you can add an element of creative solutions. So I mentioned pause first, so we need to reflect and pause whenever possible. Second, we need to build a bit of a negative capability. So when I say negative capability, it comes from the book Antidote. So basically what is mentioned there is, in life, not everything is constant, not everything is predictable, and not everything is positive. So you have to build a capability to live with change, to live with inconsistencies, to live with unpredictable things, and also to live with negative things. So you should build a capability to handle them equally as you handle the positive things. So that is really a great capability, which if can build, then we will be very balanced in the way we look at emotions or anything that happens in our life. Third that I said is jugaad. When I said the word jugaad, some people might be able to understand. Ko jugaad kar lenge. So it is just that as life comes, whatever is in our hand, whatever the situation permits, we find some creative solutions and we try to resolve it rather than letting that situation burden us, right? So these are the some things which can help us come out of all this, and we can think of doing certain things as a supportive thing to us, because we are in a situation that we are in a virtual world. We are somewhere not very connected with the nature. So we'll have to do certain things as a strategic support so that this life is supported and we do have connect with the emotions as well. So from an emotional lead perspective, emotional clarity, daily reflection, journaling, mindfulness, whatever one can possibly do is good. Emotional expression, having conversation is very, very important, because if you see conversationally, language has evolved, our emotional capabilities have evolved. The way we look at conversation is basically we calibrate better when there is a face-to-face discussion, because that's how our human race has evolved. Through facial interaction, we can judge emotions and the emotions that are created within us better. So that calibration will come only when we have more and face to face. We try to understand them, and we also develop that capability to understand and see the emotions being reflected. Creativity and therapy is something which, you know, you can express your emotions more creatively if you really know how to handle that. And therapy is for people who really have undergone something which maybe they themselves cannot handle. So why not? Therapy also can be taken, and we can see that still the emotional balance is maintained within us. Nervous system balance, again, we take care of our body as well. So movement, yoga, walk, deep rest, breath work. Emotional resilience, balanced meals, sun exposure, gut care. Because emotions affect gut, and it's roundabout, it's a vicious circle. Sun exposure will give you always keep you in a good mood. So depression will not, you will not be facing much of a depressed mood. Balanced meals will help you in overall maintaining your energy levels. Inner connection. So nature time, solitude, values aligned action. So for that nature time, we need to really respect our body limits, the limit of our mind, and have to have a nourishing relationship with both. That I should know where my limit ends and what care I have to take to keep nourishing this body. Same with the mind. Nature helps us because it connects back us to all the elements that we are made up of, and thereby it gives you a balance. So I see many of my neighbors saying that just seeing the green trees and leaves itself makes a lot of difference for us, right? So solitude is something we can not avoid. We can take that time for deeper introspection within us. Values aligned action. So first we need to know the values that we possess, and we need to align our actions accordingly, right? So that is very, very important here. Any questions, anything anybody wants to add?
I loved it. So this shows your depth of thinking, which has always amazed us. In every way, you have shown your presence, Manisalvi, and this is just amazing. Like the way you have processed it and the way you have got everyone thinking. Because I feel this is a real problem these days. We feel we see people many a times where we are so much in the denial of our own emotions, or even able to face or process them properly. And the world around, like it's maybe because of social media, maybe because of the way things have evolved in the society or something, like people just want to show that everything is just okay. And whenever it is not, and then we are just caught up in this masking all the time, showing that everything is okay when it is actually not. So and I agree to the point where you said that earlier times it was different, because maybe the families are getting smaller and things are changing. So as they said, like it needs a village to raise a child. So now we don't have that village, now we don't have that support system, nor are we raised maybe in such kind of an support system where we connect with, if not one person then the other, where we are able to just uh, deal with things differently, learn from each other, and things like that. So it was just amazing. I loved it. Thank you for that, and thank you for adding so much value in our readings. Yeah, that's it. Anyone else wants to add, please do.
Okay, so I'll just finish these 2 points which are there, which I wanted to also share. So, Same as Ever is a book by Morgan Housel. So, he talks about all the concepts he goes in depth and he says, what will not change, right? Because he has seen history and he brings out a lot of corresponding points where he says that these things will never change and will be always. So let's start handling them in the right way. So some part of it is applicable to the emotional agility also. So I have just tried to bring that out. This book reminds us that while the world changes fast, emotional patterns stay constant. Emotional agility is the skill that helps us navigate that paradox, adapting to change without becoming emotionally rigid or reactive. So, what doesn't change in the world that constantly keeps changing is human emotions are timeless. Change happens fast, but people change slowly. So this can be seen in our adaptation. The way human beings have been designed is that they have a system which will ward off any kind of a survival. They have the survival mode of living where in earlier days, survival itself was a difficult task. So for them, there was this only, that predators were around. So they had to have this alert system. This alert system has not changed much. But what has changed now is the triggers are, we are getting triggered. That alert system, that survival mode is getting triggered by lot of this virtual world effects that are happening because all our senses seem to be on the edge, seem to be aroused easily because of this exposure to maybe the social media, the phones, or the radiation, whatever it may be. But that change still body is trying to make. So emotions all the time will not reflect the reality. So we have to understand that we are undergoing a bit kind of a overload of information as well as over triggering of all our five senses. So this change is there. We have to accept that, but we'll not be able to counter it immediately. We'll have to take steps to do that. So we have to agree that our core human body will take time to, actually adjust to this. The gap between how things work and how we wish they work creates emotional friction, right? So how things work, we have to look more to the reality than how we wish to work. So see whether your perception is towards the reality, closer to reality, or ask questions, get more clarity to see what is the reality actually there. Otherwise, we are at one level of expectation and the reality is somewhere different. So definitely there will be a clash somewhere. What's new is often just old behavior in a new wrapper. So behaviors will remain same, but maybe the context and the different way opportunities will come up. Optimism and pessimism both have limits. So saying just one line that we are always optimistic may not suffice. We will need some pessimism to some extent, and if we can balance the both, nothing like it. We struggle to process uncertainty. So here the core of the book is we are cling to certainty. Our body, our mind wants assurance. They want a little bit of certainty. That's what we tend to cling to. But we have to not be more surprised with uncertainty is what they will say as a caution. Though we want certainty, but let's not be very shocked or jerked by the reality one faces because things are uncertain. Many decisions are emotional, not rational. So they say most of the sales that we do is due to the emotions. We actually, people tend to do purchases on an emotional basis rather than rational. Of course, not all cases can be there, but most percentage of cases will be emotional purchases. So the sale is happening on basis of emotions only. So Housel says people don't learn from history because they focus too much on the what and not enough on the why. So emotional agility teaches don't get stuck with what you feel. Explore why you feel it and how to respond in alignment with your values. So this is what one book talks about, something relevant to emotional agility. And I had put a point on negative capability. I just mentioned a while ago the point on negative capability, which is from the book The Antidote. written by Oliver Brookman. Okay. The ability to remain in uncertainty, doubt, and ambiguity without grasping for quick answers is negative capability. In the book, they have mentioned Shakespeare had brought out this and had seemed to be following in his life, because all his plays had lot of, those emotions coming out which people hesitate to express. In modern life, we crave certainty, closure, and control. We jump to fix label or escape difficult emotions. But true freedom comes from being in discomfort without needing to fix it. This is where the antidote aligns deeply with emotional agility. The way out of suffering is through it, not around it. So basically, it talks about being present to whatever is arising and just choosing what we want in alignment to values as a response. So that's how I see these three books talking about emotional agility, and why today we need to really think and talk about this topic and see how we can address and understand how we can better manage our emotions and take care of ourselves. Yeah. So anything anyone wants to add, wants to talk about?
Which which three books you named? The Antidote, Emotional Agility is what we are reading now, and The Same as Ever, right?
Yeah,
Or any
same as
other book?
ever. Same as ever. Book by Morgan Housel. I can share the.
Deepa,
I
I
think
think
I've
you're
shared
presenting
this.
this book today, na? In
Sorry.
Feld, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Today in Felt Group, I'm planning to
Yeah.
discuss this book, but
Yeah.
I might not be able to bring it out as beautifully as the Money has
No,
brought
I
it out
think
now.
no. In fact, what I thought was
Yeah, I might not do
this
as much
came for
justice.
you. No, in fact, I
Yeah.
thought this came for you also, like, right? Because that was such a synchronicity that Manisal is talking about the same book that you're planning to present. So, and you just
Yeah,
listening it in
actually,
the
she put it in
afternoon.
our group. She had put
Yeah.
this book in the group, so that's why I read it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known about it.
So you
Thanks
have
to
read
Mani
this
Selvi
book
only I.
before,
Yeah, yeah. No,
Emotional
after
Agility,
she
Manisal?
put it.
No, no, no. I'm asking Maniselvi, like, has she read this book before, Emotional Agility? Or are you reading it with us just a little beforehand and then creating all
No,
this?
actually, I'm not reading it beforehand. I read it with you only. But conceptually, what I parallelly try to read up, I am sharing here. So
Wow,
same as
that is
ever,
awesome.
an antidote. I've read it earlier to emotional agility. Okay, and now
Wow.
I'm connecting it because I've recently read them, so I can connect certain points with them. So I brought that out because if you see antidote का highlight ही ये concept है. This is a concept which he is trying to give you, and he does a very good job because the language is good and there are ample examples we can see. But if you say that if positive thinking is my key thing, then I would not suggest this book because it puts you down. It will tell you that how it doesn't work, right? And this book, same as ever, is very good in the sense that whatever has not changed, and it gives a perspective that these are the things we have history as a proof that this is how we think, this is how we behave. So, so this book also, if chance permits, then we can take up, or one should read actually.
Yeah, let's do it. In fact, I felt like reading it when you shared this with us. I had never heard of it.
Okay.
And one thing that I could connect with today, like listening to you and how you presented, I felt like you talked about this one point, right, where you said that this we escape emotions, right, in this place, and I felt like this was just a maybe fleeting thought that you started the presentation with that monkey, that ape with the mobile in hand, right? So
Yeah.
I feel these days mobiles are like the best escape tools that we have received. So the reason that we are able to escape emotions so well because we have something in our hand where we can actually focus and just not think or not pause, as you said, right?
Yeah.
So yes, this is what I just striked me. And so I remember in one of the retreats, and mostly like when we are taken to some spiritual retreats or things like that, the first thing is required that we put our mobiles aside and then practice silence so that we focus inward. So I have experienced that, and I know the benefits and things that it brings. So yeah, I do agree. So thank you so much. It was beautiful. It was just mind blowing. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Can't thank you enough actually.
Actually, the thing is, this pleasure seeking has become very, very, crucial to be handled now, because this constantly the dopamine chasing is there. The if I've mentioned, this there is this, the videos keep popping up as you read on something, those related videos will come to you. So there is an algorithm which is running, right? Which is actually going as per your choices of this dopamine boost, right? So we have to be careful, because we have this kind of a experience that we tend to then seek these peak kind of pleasures. It might be going for travels, we doing lot of different things. We can take all those into consideration, but why a person is seeking that somewhere is because he's not ready to sit still with themselves, is not ready to give time for themselves and face the emotion. So that fear is somewhere driving us away from the awareness, and it is driving us to seek this kind of a pleasure. In recently, one this one session was going, and they were telling that once you scroll the videos, it so happens is that brain gets the message that you are being satisfied and you are getting the pleasure out of it. Since there is an instant reward that we get, we tend to stick to doing that and not actually focus on our goals, what we need to pursue, because those success and the fruits will come only after some time. So since we get this instant gratification at an emotional level, we are satisfied, we don't actually get into work. And that's why if you see, procrastination is a very big problem today. So one of the reason is this, that we are trying to we become satisfied with viewing videos and trying to intellectually solve our cases, but actually we have to go a bit deeper to solve them. That is thing. And the belief and value system is more as to what is in trend, how many likes a person is getting. So we are also linking our identity to this virtual world. It is not that we are understanding that's a different virtual world and we are as an entity different. The focus is entirely outside, external. We are also all seeking external validation, and there is nothing to ground you inside. So that is the reason, we look at success in very, very black and white thing. That if you do what the society says, you are successful, or otherwise you are not. That doesn't work, We'll all have a middle path, and we'll have to set our values to doing that. So there are a lot of other things which maybe I have not taken in so detail, but these are the effects that happen. And what happens today is everything has become like a new normal. Okay, some people have insomnia issues. It's okay because people are under stress. Anxiety issue, burnout, loneliness, that is normal today because people are not interacting much. But really, is it the problems to be ignored and accepted? No. We need to actually find solutions for ourselves, maybe if not collectively, but for ourselves at least we need to find that, because somewhere the emotional capability is being weakened, right? And that is not right for us to go ahead. And I remember you were mentioning about intuition in the morning book reading, right? You had put it in the
Yes,
summary,
yes. In
right?
fact, the topic we covered in the morning reading was about was very much aligned with. They talked about emotions today, so
Right.
I was amazed with the alignment with this book. It
Right.
happens most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you see, there is, how will you get intuitive or use your intuitive capability if you are not emotionally aware, if you are not balanced, if you are not present, if you are not centered enough? Because otherwise, the mind dominates. Gut feeling, somatic wisdom, that is the body wisdom that we have, and the instincts, we lose on all that because we don't have that kind of an awareness. And intuition requires a quiet time. There has to be some pause that we need to take, so that in this noise we are able to listen into the intuition that we are actually getting as a signal. That is the most important thing which I realized when you were mentioning about the morning reading. Yeah. So anybody else, anything, or we can, maybe start reading the book. Anyone?
Yeah, I want to add something here.
Yeah, please.
See, the thing is, as we discussed today, so many things which are very relevant, and what I believe that so many times we are not connected to our heart, because like connecting to the heart is basically connecting to the soul. And when we discuss about journaling every day and doing visualization, so that is a constant reminder that we should be doing what is important for us. That is fully aligned with the purpose of life. But when we are not doing the journaling or not doing any visualization, so basically we are keeping us away from our true purpose of life, like not doing what we really want to do. So basically there are many tools like journaling, visualization, like waking up early morning. They're all work as a tool, which help us to live our true purpose of life. And what I believe, the success starts from home, because as a child, when we are raised up, we only do what we see our parents doing, right? So if we create a culture at home, when everybody is helping each other to live better, because see, just uh, like many conscious energies working together, like they all help us, all help each other to do what is required to be done as a family. So I think it is very important for us that we create atmosphere in our family, take the responsibility and create an environment of growth, compassion, love, and compassion, love, peace, and which align to our soul. Because the insight from the heart is beyond the limitation of the mind. Okay, and that is very powerful, as we discuss about electromagnetic field and things like that. The heart, which is which is uh, जो धड़क रहा है all through the day, right? With no extra input from us. So we need to connect to our soul, and if we can create atmosphere where we help each other to live the true purpose of life, that really makes a difference, because we are basically a product of our habits, right? So I think when we put our perspective, shift to that perspective, I think it can make a big difference. Yeah,
Yes,
thank you.
Maniji, I agree to what you're saying is, if you see, all these books talk about mostly the same aspects. So what we are trying to discuss here is more in tune to emotions and how this book has been structured. You were asking for a brief summary as to what we have read so far. So basically, it started with why, how we are rigid, and why we need agility in life, so that we actually address the context of situation rather than going with the fixed programming that we have towards whatever events happen in our life. The next chapter talked about how we are hooked into certain situations, and basically it talked about 4 kind of hooks that we have, and then unhook is what we'll saw next. So in unhook, they also elaborated on how our mind works, how we generally bottle up things, how we generally try to brush things off and actually don't address them at an emotional level. So what happens due to that was discussed in the unhooked part. Now we are coming to more of a solution, how we actually will get unhooked from all this programming that we have, all these approaches that we are used to, and how certain things, certain beliefs we are holding, which are actually myths and which are not the truth. So it also mystifies the wrong impressions that we have in relation to emotions. So today we are looking at showing up, which involves practice self-compassion, choose willingness, and learn from thoughts and emotion. This is part of the 4 steps where which starts the unhooking process. So we'll have to show up to the emotions first. That is what this chapter talks about. So anyone can read chapter 4?
I can read if there is no one else. Anyone wants to read? Otherwise, I can also read.
Yeah, please, if you can read at least 2 pages, then I can read after you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'll read, no problem. Yeah. Chapter 4, so showing up. Manithili, can you just zoom it a little? I can see it, but it will be better if we use most of the screen. That's it.
Yeah, scrolling at times becomes difficult. It's okay. I'll do it for you.
In that case, you don't zoom, then that's not a problem.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Showing up. In 1975, a young filmmaker was struggling to write a script for a sprawling space adventure, and he couldn't quite get the story off the ground. Then he rediscovered a book he had read in college, Joseph Campbell's The Hero with a Thousand Faces. In that 1949 classic, Campbell explored the idea, first developed by the psychologist Carl Jung, that all humans share certain universal but unconscious mental models for relationships and important life experiences. From the birth of civilization, according to Campbell and Jung, humans have embedded these models in myths. These ancient stories address timeless topics like families, fear, success, and failure, and they share certain elements called archetypes, the basics of which include the hero, the mentor, and the quest. Archetypes also include more specific plot devices, such as the magic sword and the lake or pool that hides a secret beneath its surface. These archetypes show us in everything from the King Arthur legends to Harry Potter to online role playing games. The existence of universal archetypes might explain why people all over the world fall in love with the same kinds of stories and why you can find similar myths in very different cultures. The struggling filmmaker used the archetypes and rewrote his script to be more of a mythic hero's quest. That filmmaker was George Lucas, and his movie Star Wars went on to become one of the most popular films ever made. But myths offer a lot more than box office buffo. Long before there were books or movies or philosophers, literature, professors, or psychologists, these universal stories were the way people passed along key life lessons. Wow. And one of the lessons conveyed in myth after myth is that trying to dodge the things we are most afraid of is a very bad idea. Time and time again in myths, the hero ultimately has no choice but to. I missed it. Where was it? But to go into a dark and spooky place, a swamp, a cave, the Death Star, and the confront head on whatever is lurking there. In modern life, we often find ourselves at the edges of our own dark places, all the more terrifying for being inside us. Sometimes these places are filled with demons. Sometimes there are only a few little spooklets hiding in the corners. But whether the creatures represent major traumas or minor embarrassments, terrors or tics, they can keep us hooked. Most of our own personal stories aren't particularly epic. Few of us would have much to offer Hollywood, not even a cheesy horror flick. Most people, fortunately, do not harbor repressed memories of, say, grandma hacking grandpa to pieces and serving him up on toast points. Our hidden demons are simply the residue of perfectly ordinary and almost universal insecurities, self-doubt, and fear of failure. Maybe you still resent your sister for flirting with your boyfriends in high school. Maybe you feel undervalued by your new boss. This is not even the stuff of a good tear-soaked opera episode, but it can be enough to hook you into behaving in ways that don't serve you. So can't we just send in somebody with a lightsaber to wipe out these bad guys and blow up the Star? No, that's not how it works in this galaxy. Oddly enough, one example of what does work, at least metaphorically, comes from a genuine horror film called The Babadook. In it, a single mother is tormented by a shadow monster that emerges from one of her son's storybooks. It eventually becomes clear that the monster represents her feelings about motherhood and the resentment she felt towards her son since her husband, the boy's father, was killed while driving her to the hospital to give birth. Oh my god. Thus, the monster also represents her grief. In the end, alert, she disempowers this big, scary bundle of unwelcome emotions not just by confronting it, but also by letting the Babadook live in the basement where she feeds and cares for it. In other words, she learns to tame and accommodate it without letting it dictate her life. It seems an odd ending for a movie. Shouldn't the protagonist vanquish the monster? But if you understand emotions, it makes beautiful, perfect sense. As with every hero's journey, our movement toward a better life begins with showing up. But that doesn't mean we have to smite or slay all the demons, Babadooks, or even the spooklets that trouble us. It does mean we must face up to, make peace with, and find an honest and open way to live with them. When we show up fully with awareness from and acceptance, even the worst demons usually back down. Simply by facing up to the scary things and giving them a name, we often strip them of their power. We end the tug of war by dropping the rope. Decades of psychological research shows that our life satisfaction in the face of inevitable worries, regrets, and sad experiences depends not so much on how many of these things we experience or even their intensity, but on the way we deal with them. Do we bottle or brood, allowing them to govern our behavior, or do we show up to them compassionately with curiosity and with acceptance, no failures, regrets, or bad hairstyles turned away? Showing up is not a heroic exercise of will, but simply looking our personal tormentors in the eye and saying, "Okay, you are here, and I'm here. Let's talk." Because I'm big enough to contain all my feelings and past experiences, I can accept all these parts of my existence without being crushed or terrified. The Italian Jewish writer Primo Levi, like Frankel, a survivor of the Nazi death camp, spoke of the unexpected anguish of his return home to Italy at the end of World War II. People gathered around him and his emaciated fellow survivors and asked, "What has happened to you?" As the survivors began to try to find words to convey their experience, people slowly turned and walked away, unable or unwilling to listen and accept what they were hearing. Originally trained as a chemist, took a job at an ordinary laborer in a paint factory, but he found his means of coping by jotting down remembered fragments of his experiences or train tickets and old scraps of paper. At night at the factory dormitory, he would type them up. Over time, a manuscript emerged that became his first book. If that is a man, Levi had discovered the vital importance of where are we? Having your feelings and experiences acknowledged not just by other people but also by oneself. In learning to see and accept your full self, warts and all, it helps to remember one thing that all favorite heroes and heroines have in common. They are far from perfect. Perfection is one dimensional, unrealistic, boring. That's why the most engaging protagonists have flaws on a dark side, and why the truly interesting villains have enough humanity that we at least partly identify with them. A satisfying movie is one in which the complex positives and negatives of hero and villain are get resolved. In real life, our successes come from how well we are able to live with and learn from our own flaws or dark side. and the path to that resolution, and that learning begins with showing up. Okay. Uh, are we reading further?
Yeah, we
Or
can just finish this paragraph and then discuss.
okay. You tell us where to stop. I don't mind. Yeah. In a survey of thousands of respondents, researchers in England found that all the happy habits science has currently identified as being keys to a more fulfilling life. Self-acceptance was the one most strongly associated with overall satisfaction. Yet the same study revealed that this particular habit was also the one people practiced least. Respondents reported they were good at helping and giving to others, but when asked how often they were kind to themselves, almost half gave a rating of 5 or less out of 10. Only a handful of respondents, 5%, rated themselves as a 10 on self acceptance. Okay. Next topic is self compassion. Do we take it today or Monday?
We'll take it on Monday.
Okay. Yeah. You
So,
don't have to do the weekends, right? Like
sorry.
normally we follow Monday to Friday,
Ah.
but Manish ji has created an exception, so just wanting to know.
So it would depend if people are coming, then I'm okay with that. But if people, just to give them that benefit of time to have with the family to, keep take care of the chores that they have to do over the weekend. If I'm okay either ways, but let me actually know who are coming. Because if few people are coming, then let's do it on Monday.
I prefer doing it Monday to Friday actually because same reason, family time, and also it gets us time to even cope up like with whatever we have learned, just to
Right.
process, go back to it if we want to cover up
So,
if the reading
yeah.
things like that.
Yeah, so we can do the next reading on Monday, and we can now open the forum to just discuss what we read, what were the key takeaways, and also summarize, in their own way, how they will make use of whatever we had discussed over the week and implement them in their life. If anybody wants to share, please do.
I have something to share, but I would give others opportunity because since I have been talking a lot today, so if anyone wants to speak, you do, and then I'll follow after you.
Yeah, just want to add a little more what I just added. The point is, as you rightly said that, we go through, we cannot escape bad experiences, challenges, failure, things like that. So I think uh, before they happen, we should constantly practice a mental practice of like all good and bad things that can happen in our life, so that when they come, we are not surprised and we are not let down by that. So I think that's how we do through meditation, mindfulness, and doing some things with that make us mentally strong. It's just like, one day, maybe I'm just sharing one strong example that, okay, that like having the experiencing death will not make the death more painful for you. So it's just like, if you're making your mind so mentally strong about different aspect of life by mindfulness and meditation, so when the tough time will come, you'll not be surprised, you'll not be let down, like you don't fall so much that you cannot get up. And it's just like, you practice yourself to all the adverse aspect of life, like, when you are how you will behave when you will be fully successful. Okay, how you will behave when you will be let down by the highest obstacles of life, right? So if we do some mental practices around that, I think that helps a lot to handle our emotional capability and emotional strength, basically. And doing
So,
doing
so
all those
Manishi,
practices.
how are you actually telling? Say, for example, I'm wanting to do this work. Say, I undertake a project. So, what are you asking me to do in relation to this work?
Yeah,
When
see,
you're saying mentally prepare, yeah, I just
yeah,
want to understand what is that you are
yeah.
suggesting here. Yeah.
Yeah, I just read that book Coming Alive, right? So the author gave us 4 tools that,
Hmm.
okay, when you are, let's say you are experiencing some pain,
Hmm.
okay, You wanted something to happen, but it is not happening, and you are experiencing that pain. So
Mm.
what you have to do it, you have to feel that pain fully intentionally. That it
Correct.
is hurting you so much that it can make you dead. And then you, for a few moment, think like yourself like a dead person. That the pain was so intense that it made you dead. You have to just feel it that way in your heart. Okay. So what will happen is, and after that, after few moments, then just whisper in your mind that okay, only the dead will survive. So basically, what happens is like, unless you set yourself free from pain, you cannot elevate from that pain. So it's just like a mental exercise. Then you tap to your heart potential, and then basically it's just like putting your mind in that situation. And when you do these mental practices, it's just like another mental practice. So when you do that mental practices, so basically you untap your heart potential, basically,
So
and
what
you
you are
begin.
actually saying is in line with what we read today,
Yeah,
being
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
is showing up. Yeah, now I get it. Okay, okay, sir. Right.
So basically, it's just like you are changing, you are using the potential of the heart, because the heart is so powerful. It is
Mm.
beyond the power of the mind, actually. So with
Right,
using that practice, using that tool, you are basically tapping into your heart potential,
right,
right? You basically are the soul reside there. You are basically tapping into your divine energy inside the soul, inside you, and that will help you to lift from that state, from
right.
the feelings of death. And that the highest pain you can have, right? That they know higher pain than the pain of death, right? Just like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, could relate to, what you are trying to say as far as the
Yeah, yeah.
acceptance goes, that accept the pain,
So it's
don't
just like
deny
when
it,
you,
don't avoid it. So
yeah, yeah. So when you talk to yourself
face it. Yeah,
through the
face it
heart,
and try to make good of that situation
yeah,
that
yeah.
you have in hand. Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
speak to yourself. Only the dead will survive, and I'm the person. I'm the best. I'm the best child of God. You are
Right.
basically lifting yourself from the spirit of soul, and the soul is the energy of the divine world, right? So
Right.
basically, you are connecting to that frequency, and it is helping you to, it will charge your battery from zero state to the highest state. Basically, it is charging you internally through the soul,
Right.
through the energy. That is the point here.
Right. Anybody else who connects with what Manishi shared or what we have discussed so far?
I want to add from the reading today.
Yeah.
So the author talked about this mythological scriptures and things like which talked about all these layered archetypes and all of that, right? So
Yeah.
I remember one thing that there are this wonderful animation movies. They actually show this very very beautifully. Like there is this Last Airbender or some other things. My husband knows better. She's here, so he might know better, and Milinji knows better about these movies, but few I have watched and I can connect with. So there was this one animation, some Ramayana something that my daughter was watching, and in that na they have very beautifully shown this, like that how a positive person, positive character turns negative and things like that. Even in Ramayana, one of the thing where I have seen one of the scenes, it was very beautifully shared that Ravana and his all 10 heads, right? Like we know that he has this 10 heads and all, but actually in that animation they had beautifully shown that those 10 heads were these 10 emotions that he carried, which actually all of his qualities, like basically one head is anger, one head is lust, kind of these things. So and even Sister Shivani is one of the video, or I remember during Navratri or something when she had shared that she had shared all these goddesses, that they are basically different emotions that we have to tackle and deal with. So we don't know all these meanings behind these rituals that we follow through. You also like covered it today, but basically we don't know what is the deeper meaning behind this, but I think our ancestors have actually designed this very well thought. So maybe we just have to
No,
go
I
through
know
the.
that.
Yeah,
I can.
maybe most of us,
Yeah.
because we are not taught in that direction. We are just taught to do something as a ritual, and we just follow through without understanding it most of the time. So that is what I related with, and I loved that part. Also, during the weekend, the last weekend, I attended one of the session where that a person was connecting Gita, Ramayana, and Star Wars. where he shared that the Star Wars story and Ramayana is very, very similar. So if you tell someone who has watched a Westerner who don't know anything about Ramayana, and you're telling him the story, he will think you're telling it about Star Wars. And whereas the same way, other way around. And this Babadook's example that was shared today, and the way the author talked about embracing emotions and all, I remembered about Elizabeth Gilbert. So she's one of my favorite authors, and she very beautifully narrates. And there is this one book only I have read, two books I have read of her, which are both of different styles altogether. There is this one book, Eat, Pray, Love, if by chance anyone has read it. So in that book, she literally covers this very beautifully. So she has been through some depression and all of that. And the way she narrates is she will tell like, okay, the fear came knocking on my door, and then I just put my hand around her neck and I just made her sit beside me, and then I talked with her, kind of. She like metaphorically personifies those emotions, and that's how she narrates the anxiety, fear, and things like that. And it's very beautiful, the way she has dealt with it. So just reminded me of all these things. So just wanted to share, and it is very much like what the author shared today. So yeah,
Right.
just wanted to add that.
Right. So, what I'm listening or hearing or understanding here is from various sources, we have understood this concept very well. Somewhere we are struggling to implement that. So, let's now focus our discussion to understand how we can implement and enjoy actually learning the learnings that we have got from various sources. So, how do you think one small change that you can make from today, which will build your emotional agility?
You
So
connect to your heart.
personally, yeah, I would personally start practicing more of the solo time, which I have been craving and maybe missing due to all the chores or whatever I am busy with. So maybe I would do that. I would start with more of meditation and journaling. I do that on a lesser note, but maybe now from a deeper perspective and on more focused on these, I would maybe do that for myself. So I would start with something like that. I feel, and spending more quality time with myself, where I want to do certain things like paintings and things like that. So maybe engaging myself with these activities is what I would want to do for myself to understand myself better.
Okay, and how one key takeaway from this book, which was surprising for you, which was like you never knew before? You can share that.
Uh, so there was many things, in fact, and especially I feel more than the book, the value that you have brought to the sessions with your shares are also immensely valuable. But one thing, if I can remember right now, is that brooding and bottling part, and how we actually embrace both of them together, and they both have their brighter sides. So that part is something that was new to me, because showing up and all of that, this I have dealt with them, and I do practice to a certain extent. So I'm not so much of a that was not so much of a new information for me. But yes, that brooding and bottling part was new to me, and that was a wonderful learning. And obviously the books that you shared about right now, so many things, like actually from your presentation I feel there are many things that I would pick up. So yeah.
Right. See, the attempt, yeah.
I want to add one thing that what I newly learned from this book was that there's so many things in life we cannot avoid, and which are not which we don't like also, but we need to have that emotional maturity, like not to get affected by that, uh, and getting awareness about it, and making yourself emotionally mature, and you know it will help it will help us live better, and like in a better way, just like that. So I think that's what I found it new.
Okay.
And one more thing I want to add is, see, every capability is a practice basically. So everything, when you start something, it looks difficult, but the point is to be the consistent, to have the consistency. So if we can have that practices of emotional maturity and other related things on a day-to-day basis, maybe small actions. So I think they make a lot of difference. So it's all about mindful practices on any area that we want to improve,
Right.
whatever it is.
Right.
Thank you.
And somewhere the books also talks about that things are very, when it comes to emotion, it is very personal, it is very subjective. And each one of us feel the emotions differently, even though there is a specific palette of emotions that are there in this planet, or how every one of us experience. But what makes the change, or what actually changes when it comes as to I experiencing that emotion versus any other person experiencing that emotion. So we are different in that context. So we at our own level have to understand our emotions. Even our context situations will be different. Our mindset capabilities will be different. Our experiences will be different. We might have some traumas which others might not have. So what I'm trying to say is this book also brings out that it's your responsibility and it's your variety to handle. So you need to seek whether meditation is for you. You need to seek whether journaling is for you. Or you can just go by, doing some exercise, yoga, or you can just enjoy some music that works for you. So this book also brings out that one has to understand their appetite of emotional, the level they can accept and they can handle, and beyond which if it goes, then they have to find ways to manage that as
Manisha, I would like to answer your first question. Repeat the question again, please.
So I'd asked that what in this book was there which you never knew earlier, and second question was what one thing you will implement out of our discussion that we had for 5 days from say today.
Right. So, I mean, I would wanted to talk about the implementation.
Yeah.
So, I've spent a lot of time practicing Tibetan Buddhism, and there they talk about emotions. One thing is what you already said in the latter part is taking responsibility. Yeah, all the emotions that arise within you are your babies, and the more you neglect it, the bigger they become. So neglecting is not, or suppressing is not a way to handle them, because suppressing leads to disease, so dis-ease. And to move, so when they arise, you while you are meditating or doing certain other practices which the Tibetans do, you are you can be like a cat watching the mouse hole. You're watching that emotion arise, and between, like Viktor Frankl says, so there's a space between the stimulus and reaction or response, and in that space you can let go. But let go can only happen when there is acceptance. But the acceptance of the emotion that has arisen is not due to some external factor. That was just a trigger. But the emotion arose within you. And as you really well mentioned it earlier, because that makes each one of us different because of our conditioning, because of our experiences and trauma. So this helps us. The universal factor among all this is to accept and take responsibility of the emotion instead of blaming others, because that the other person was the one who brought that emotion within me. To find the trigger points within you and to delete them lovingly. This is what I liked about Tibetan Buddhism, lovingly, because they are your babies. You can't hate them. If you have an anger baby, don't don't hate it. Love it till it dissolves from anger into love. So emotions can move also from one extreme to the other. So it's just like a plant. If it gets enough sun and soil and everything else, it will grow. And if it doesn't, so all that you need to do is provide it all that. So if you provide, and one big emotion, so there are two big emotions, one of gratitude and one of love. There has also been a discussion whether it was the gratitude is higher than love or love is higher than gratitude. But that's besides the point. It's just that these two emotions are very, very strong, and they lead to chemical reactions in the body. And the more we work with our emotions, so moving into that space of observation and acceptance and responsibility with detachment, like we have learned in NLP, fly on the wall, this will help us to I'm not even talking about controlling emotions, I'm talking about transforming emotions. So making our life easier for accepting, for just full self acceptance. And I found this so how do I put it? I found this, it relieved me so much, because I had the power to change it, because it is in my responsibility. It is my painting of the situation, and I have painted the colors on it. And those colors of emotion, I can change. So I have the power. Thank you.
Yeah. So nicely put, Shilpa, from your experience perspective. Yeah, this chapter that we read today was about acceptance, was about instead of avoiding, face the emotion and not seek perfection in the way you handle it. So, you know, it was great to have this discussion today. Anyone else wants to add something, or can we call it a day?
I want to add one thing quickly. See, actually, what is the like? Every manifestation is based on energy and frequency, and energy is the language of the soul, and the right frequency is the language of the brain. Okay, and the heart is the intersection of mind and the body. So basically, when both heart and mind works together, they're in the best combination of energy and frequency. And with our faith and emotions, we can have that combination to work out to our benefit, to whatever we want to achieve. I think that's more of a mind and heart coherence, basically. Yeah, thank you.
Right. Thank you. Anybody else? We have a new member, I think. SH, I'm not sure who that is. Any comments from your side? Saurabh, you want to add something? Or can we call it a day today?
I think we started today. I missed some parts of the session because I had to put my daughter to sleep.
No problem. Maybe you can catch up the recordings and you can get back if
You
there are
can
questions.
even add from whatever you were available also if you want to add something.
No, I'm good.
Okay, okay.
Okay, fine. Then have a nice weekend, everyone. and we'll meet back on Monday, 2:30 again. Yeah.
And thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Manisalvi.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
See, you want to use this time for the discussion you mentioned?
No, then it will get added in this and it will unnecessarily
Correct.
get extended. Now, so I'm actually waiting to take the summary. I actually forgot to take the summary today. So I'll
Okay.
just take the summary and are you free
When
now?
back?
So I'll connect with you if you're free.
Yeah, till 4:15 or something, we can connect. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to give you the inputs by that girl. That's
Sure.
it. Like, so we can
That's
just consider what can be considered and what can be like, what can we just let it go like types. So
sure.
I'll talk to you. I'll call you immediately after I'm done. Right? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.